Some villages scattered around the world show us that life unfolds in a singular way, challenging the limits of geography and the force of isolation. In places where roads, neighbors, and even basic access to communication with the outside world are practically non-existent, people remain connected through the strength of community, culture, and the incredible capacity to adapt to an environment cut off from the rest of the planet. Tristan da Cunha, one of the most isolated places in the world, is a remote archipelago in the South Atlantic Ocean. It is part of the British Overseas Territory of St. Helena, Ascension, and Tristan da Cunha. The main island, also called Tristan da Cunha, is about 2,400 kilometers from the coast of South Africa and more than 3,300 kilometers from South America. The capital and only village is called Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, home to a small community of around 250 people. Discovered in 1506 by the Portuguese explorer Tristan da Cunha, the island has a volcanic geography with peaks and a hostile climate, making access very difficult. There is no airport on Tristan da Cunha, and the only way to get there is by boat, a trip that can take from 6 to 10 days departing from South Africa. The small population of Tristan da Cunha is composed mainly of families descended from the first settlers of the 19th century, resulting in a tightly interconnected and unique society, with only a few surnames shared among everyone. The community depends primarily on Tristan lobster fishing, a delicacy exported to the global market. They also produce handicrafts and postage stamps collected by enthusiasts around the world. As one of the most inaccessible places on Earth, Tristan da Cunha is a true little cultural and natural world, offering a simple life but rich in traditions and history for those who inhabit it. McMurdo Station, located in Antarctica, is one of the most isolated and extreme research posts in the world. Run by the United States, it is situated on Ross Island, near the Ross Sea, and about 3,800 kilometers from New Zealand. Founded in 1955, McMurdo is the largest research station in Antarctica, with the capacity to host around 1,000 people in the summer, when weather conditions are milder, and reducing to about 200 people during the harsh Antarctic winter. Because it is in one of the most inhospitable environments on the planet, with temperatures that can drop below -50 degrees Celsius in winter, McMurdo was designed to be a self-sufficient and highly resilient base. The station has its own power plant, a desalination plant to convert seawater into drinking water, and even a sewage treatment station. In addition, the station has an ice runway where heavy transport aircraft, such as the C-130, can operate, carrying supplies and researchers. The station is also a major scientific center. Scientists conduct research in areas such as glaciology, meteorology, biology, and astronomy. McMurdo's proximity to the geomagnetic South Pole also makes it an excellent place for studies on the auroras and space, since light pollution is minimal and the atmosphere is extremely pure. McMurdo is connected by satellite to the rest of the world, allowing scientists to communicate with their teams and families even in extreme isolation. However, living and working there is a true challenge. During the long Antarctic winter, the station is completely cut off, with no flights or escape routes due to darkness and extreme cold. Hangaroa is the only town and the main port of Easter Island, also known as Rapa Nui, located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, about 3,700 kilometers off the coast of Chile, the country to which it belongs, and 4,100 kilometers from Tahiti. This small town is the gateway to one of the most enigmatic cultures and landscapes on the planet, known especially for the iconic moai, the giant stone statues that symbolize the island's ancestors. With a population of approximately 5,000 inhabitants, Hangaroa concentrates almost all the island's infrastructure, including Mataveri International Airport, which is the most remote air access point in the world. The airport is supplied mainly by flights from Santiago, and it also has a limited number of flights to Tahiti. Although tourism is one of the main sources of income, the community in Hangaroa preserves traditional cultural practices and maintains a strong connection to its Polynesian roots. The town offers a variety of accommodations, restaurants, and services, but still keeps the calm and peaceful atmosphere of an isolated community. In addition to tourism, fishing and agriculture are important to the local economy, with many residents still cultivating potatoes, cassava, and other native crops. Hangaroa also serves as the cultural center of Rapa Nui, where inhabitants devote themselves to preserving their language, crafts, and traditional dances. In town, the Father Sebastian Englert Anthropological Museum presents archaeological artifacts and information about the island's history and culture. Oymyakon, a village in the Siberian region of Russia, is known as the coldest inhabited place on Earth. With a population of about 500 people, it is located in the Sakha Republic. This isolated village has winter temperatures that can drop below -50 degrees Celsius, with the world record for the coldest inhabited area set at -67.7 degrees Celsius in 1933. Oymyakon's isolation is extreme, with limited and difficult access provided by an ice road called the Road of Bones, which is also one of the most dangerous in the world. Travel is only possible during winter because melting in summer makes the route impassable. Due to the permanently frozen ground, the local diet consists mainly of reindeer meat, fish, and other animals from the region since agriculture is practically impossible. Hunting and fishing are therefore essential for survival. A diet rich in protein and fat helps endure the low temperatures and extreme exposure to cold. Winter there is harsh and can last from 7 to 9 months, covering the landscape in ice and snow and freezing the rivers solid. Summer is extremely short, but can surprise everyone with temperatures that rise to between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius, creating a dramatic contrast. Pitcairn Island is one of the most isolated inhabited regions on the planet, located in the Pacific Ocean about 5,000 kilometers from New Zealand and 5,500 kilometers from South America. It is part of a small group of 4 islands called the Pitcairn Islands, which is a British overseas territory. Pitcairn is the only one of these islands that is inhabited, and the population is extremely small, with only about 50 people. Life on Pitcairn is marked by extreme isolation and self-sufficiency. There is no airport on the island, and access is solely by boat, which can take several days from Tahiti, the nearest departure point. On Pitcairn, inhabitants receive supplies from a supply boat that comes a few times per year, bringing food, provisions, and mail. The island's economy is on a very small scale, with activities such as crafts, the sale of honey, and collectible stamps and coins for tourists. However, economic sustainability is a challenge, and the British government often provides financial and logistical support to residents. Though tiny and isolated, Pitcairn is known for its natural beauty, such as black sand beaches, rocky formations, and rich marine life. In recent times, Pitcairn has sought to attract new residents, encouraging immigration to combat the decline in population. The Huacachina Oasis is one of the most unique and isolated places in the world, located in the middle of the Peruvian desert, about 5 kilometers from the city of Ica and approximately 300 kilometers south of Lima, the capital of Peru. This oasis is a small natural lagoon surrounded by palm trees and giant sand dunes, forming a kind of fairy tale setting amid the desert's dryness. The village of Huacachina has a very small permanent population, but welcomes visitors year-round, drawn by the oasis's unique beauty and adventure activities. Huacachina is known for being the only natural oasis in South America, and the origin of the lagoon is shrouded in legends. One of the most popular is that it was formed when an Inca princess, fleeing from a hunter, dropped her mirror, which created the lagoon. Even today, local inhabitants share stories and believe the oasis has healing properties because of the minerals in the water. The surrounding desert offers options for adventure activities such as sandboarding, surfing on sand, dune buggy rides, and hiking. These towering dunes become especially magical at sunset, when the sky is painted orange and pink. Infrastructure in Huacachina is limited, with some inns, restaurants, and small shops. Its isolation is due as much to its remote desert location as to its modest size. Santa Cruz del Islote is a small island in the Caribbean Sea, off the coast of Colombia, famous for its population density and geographic isolation. It is part of the San Bernardo archipelago, which includes several small islands, but Santa Cruz del Islote stands out for being one of the most densely populated islands in the world, with about 500 inhabitants living in an area of only 0.012 square kilometers, equivalent to 2 soccer fields. The island does not have beaches, and most of the space is occupied by houses and buildings, with narrow streets that barely fit pedestrian traffic. Founded more than a century ago by fishermen seeking shelter and safety, the island has become a vibrant and close-knit community where practically all residents know one another. Life is simple and based on a strong network of mutual support. Because the island is small and has no space for food production, most supplies are brought from the coastal city of Tolu, while fishing and tourism also help support the population. Santa Cruz del Islote faces significant challenges because of isolation and lack of infrastructure. There is no hospital or adequate sewage system, and electricity is limited to a few hours a day, provided by a generator. Drinking water is shipped by boat from the coast and rationed for basic needs. The Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia is one of the most remote and geographically isolated regions in the world, situated in the Russian Far East between the Sea of Okhotsk and the Pacific Ocean. Because of its remote location and mountainous volcanic terrain, access is limited and complicated. The region is known for its wild and untouched beauty, with spectacular landscapes of active volcanoes and hot springs. A custom, let's say, quite peculiar, involves the hospitality of Kamchatka's indigenous peoples. As a gesture of gratitude and good manners, men would offer their wives to visiting travelers, and if accepted, the traveler could spend the night with her. Of course, even though this is a tradition, it is done consensually, and both sides must be willing. Life in Kamchatka is challenging, and communities still preserve much of their traditions. However, the region also lives on the edge between cultural preservation and the modernity brought by tourism and opening up to the rest of the world. Palmerston is a small island in the Pacific Ocean, part of the Cook Islands. It is considered one of the most remote places in the world because of its distant location, around 500 kilometers from Rarotonga, the capital of the Cook Islands, and with no regular transportation services. Palmerston is an atoll formed by small islets of sand and vegetation, surrounded by a turquoise lagoon and coral reefs. Its population is small, with only about 50 inhabitants, almost all descendants of William Marsters, an Englishman who settled on the island in 1863. Marsters arrived with 3 Polynesian women and founded a family that expanded over generations. Today, the inhabitants are largely relatives of one another and live in a tightly knit community with their own traditions and customs. Although Marsters' descendants still have strong ties to the United Kingdom, Palmerston operates with a certain autonomy, following a social structure based on family norms. Palmerston's isolation means that residents depend mainly on occasional vessels for supplies and communication with the outside world, as there is no airport. These boats, coming from Rarotonga, bring provisions, equipment, and mail, but arrive only once or twice a year. The local economy is sustained by fishing and sporadic tourism, with visitors drawn by the island's natural beauty and the hospitable culture of its inhabitants. Life on Palmerston is simple and rustic, where there is no full-time electricity and infrastructure is limited. The community survives largely thanks to the use of generators, solar power, and rainwater collection. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.